On February 14 at 9:42 a.m., Christina Applegate admits she sometimes cannot walk to her own bathroom. 43 steps. That's the number that stops her cold. And what she says happens at step 27 changes everything. She reveals she keeps a cane in every room. Bedroom. Kitchen. Car. By 7:15 a.m., she has already calculated how much energy she can spend before noon. And some mornings, that budget is zero, but that's not even the worst part. At 2:03 p.m., her legs feel like they weigh 200 pounds. She describes it as cement poured into veins. She can stand for 3 minutes. Maybe 4. Then her body simply shuts the door, but that's not even the worst part. Here's the contradiction. On red carpets, she smiles. Perfect posture. Flashing cameras. Everyone assumes strength. But off camera, she plans exits before she enters. So how does both versions exist at once? Friends say she still cracks jokes every 5 minutes. Dark humor. Sharp timing. Yet she admits there are nights she stares at the ceiling until 3:18 a.m., unable to feel her toes. The laughter is real. So is the fear. Stay with this. Because by the end, you understand exactly how she rebuilds a life inside a body that resists her. And the first strategy she uses costs nothing, but almost nobody talks about it. Strategy 1 begins at 6:30 a.m. She narrates her own movements out loud. Left foot. Shift weight. Breathe. It sounds small. It feels mechanical. But this ritual keeps her upright longer than willpower ever could. By 11:47 a.m., she schedules what she calls a forced surrender. Lights off. Phone face down. 27 silent minutes. Not optional. Because if she pushes past that window, the crash lasts 2 full days. She tracks flare-ups like stock market crashes. January 3rd, January 19th. February 6th, patterns start forming. Weather shifts. Stress spikes. A single event invitation can trigger a 48-hour spiral, and that realization hits hard. Stop. Rewind that. One invitation equals 48 hours in bed. That's the math she now calculates before saying yes to anything. Hollywood measures success in appearances. She measures survival in recoveries. And then there's the shower. 7 minutes used to be nothing. Now she installs a bench. Temperature slightly cooler to avoid dizziness. She times it at exactly 6 minutes and 30 seconds, because 30 seconds more changes everything. White medium star, she says, I don't fight my body anymore. I negotiate with it. That single sentence reframes the entire battle. It's not war. It's diplomacy with nerves that misfire without warning. And that shift hits like lightning. She keeps humor as armor. On March 2nd, during a private dinner, she jokes about racing her own shadow. Everyone laughs. But later that night, she needs help standing from the couch. The punchline hides the price. Her daughter notices everything. The slower stares. The longer pauses. Christina times school pickups down to the minute so she never appears late or weak. Control becomes comfort. Precision becomes protection. Here's the number that stuns people: 3 falls in 6 months. None public. All painful. She documents each one privately. Location. Time. Trigger. Because data, for her, feels like power reclaimed. Meanwhile, she still takes calls about future projects. Scripts arrive. Offers float in. She reads them lying flat to conserve energy. Hollywood sees possibility. She calculates stamina in 30-minute increments. At 4:22 p.m., the fatigue wave hits hardest. She describes it as a curtain dropping behind her eyes. Sound dulls. Light sharpens. Even holding a conversation feels like lifting weights underwater. But here's what outsiders miss. She celebrates microscopic victories. 5 extra steps. 1 uninterrupted hour. A day without numb fingertips. These become milestones. Tiny wins stacked like bricks. She admits there are days she grieves her old body. Loudly. Privately. No cameras. And then she resets the next morning at 6:30 a.m. like nothing broke, except something always does. Right now, as of today, she lives in negotiation, not surrender. Some call it resilience. Others call it survival. The real question isn't whether she's strong, it's how long this rhythm can hold. What do you think? The 43 steps shrink to 38 by March 18, same hallway. Same lighting. But at step 21, her knee buckles without warning. A small stumble. She laughs it off. That laugh doesn't last. She tries to compensate. Orders a heavier cane on March 20th, 8:12 p.m. More support. More stability. But the added weight strains her wrist, and by the third day, even gripping it feels like lifting iron. Her physical therapist increases sessions from twice a week to 4. April 2nd, 3:40 p.m., first extended session. Muscles shake. Sweat beads. She pushes harder. That night, she cannot stand without assistance, and now someone notices. Her daughter sees the hesitation on the stairs. April 5th, 7:18 a.m. One extra pause. Then two. The house grows quiet. Christina says she's fine. But children recognize truth faster than adults admit it. Stop. Because here's the shift. Meanwhile, 2,300 miles away, a producer assumes she's just tired and reschedules a meeting for April 9th. Fatigue becomes misunderstanding. Misunderstanding becomes rumor, and rumors spread fast. She decides to control the narrative. April 12th, 11:06 a.m. A carefully worded message sent to close friends only. Honest. Raw. Specific. But screenshots travel farther than intentions, and one lands where it shouldn't. By April 13th, 9:32 p.m., 3 more people know. Then 7. Then 12. Each retelling trims context. Adds drama. Removes nuance. The original truth begins shrinking, just like those hallway steps. She attempts a quiet cover. Cancels 2 appearances. Claims schedule conflict. Posts an old smiling photo at exactly 6:02 p.m. The comment section explodes with praise. But behind the filter, something is unraveling. The cancellation triggers contract penalties. Small at first. Then bigger. By April 20th, the estimated loss reaches 6 figures. Not catastrophic. Not yet. But enough to make every future no feel heavier. And here's the number nobody expects, 12 falls in 12 months. Not 3. 12. Documented. Dated. Hidden. The hallway was never the real problem, it was the warning. After the 12th fall, April 28th, for 11 p.m., she installs wall grips along the hallway. Visible now. Impossible to ignore. The house itself begins adapting, and that visibility changes everything. Neighbors notice the installation truck. Questions float casually over fences. She smiles. Downplays it. Calls it renovation. But renovations don't usually arrive after documented injuries. She doubles down on independence. May 3rd, 10:25 a.m. Refuses assistance at a small industry brunch. Stands unaided for photos. By 10:33, her vision blurs. By 10:37, she excuses herself abruptly. The abrupt exit fuels speculation. Blogs whisper about relapse. Friends start texting. Her phone lights up 14 times in 12 minutes. She doesn't answer. Silence becomes louder than any statement. You're probably thinking this spirals fast. It does. Because on May 6, 8:48 p.m., she considers using a wheelchair full-time. The thought alone feels like surrender, and that internal battle rages quietly. She tests it privately. May 8, 2:14 p.m. Rolls from bedroom to kitchen. No tremor. No panic. Just smooth motion. Relief floods in, followed immediately by grief she cannot swallow. Word leaks again. A photo surfaces from inside her own driveway. Grainy. Zoomed. She hadn't announced anything. The narrative now writes itself without her permission. She drafts a public statement at 11:58 p.m. Deletes it. Writes another. Deletes that too. Every version sounds either too brave or too broken. And indecision becomes its own exhaustion. Meanwhile, her agent quietly calls 3 producers on May 10, 9:07 a.m. Adjusts expectations. Mentions new parameters. The industry listens differently when limitations become official. And just when it feels stabilized, another flare ignites on May 14, 6:41 a.m. Numb hands. Sudden vertigo. She drops her phone. The hallway grips cannot stop what's coming next. May 14, 6:41 a.m. The vertigo spikes. Her fingers loosen. The phone slips. It hits hardwood with a sharp crack. The screen lights up anyway, and what flashes there stops her cold. She sees the notification. Her name. Trending. 6:42 a.m. Her hand freezes inches above the floor. She blinks once. Twice. The hallway grips blur at the edges of her vision, and she doesn't reach for the cane. She opens the app. The leaked driveway photo fills the screen. Wheelchair visible. Caption already rewritten by strangers. She inhales sharply. Exhales slower. The silence in that hallway becomes unbearable. 14 million views in 36 hours. Meanwhile, at 6:58 a.m., her agent sees it. Then her daughter's school group chat lights up. Then 3 producers text simultaneously. The immediate circle learns in waves, and none of it comes from her. By 8:12 a.m., timelines flood with clips of her past interviews. The quote about negotiating her body resurfaces first. Cropped. Shared. Debated. The narrative shifts from empathy to speculation in under an hour. Headlines multiply by 9:03 a.m. Words like decline, confined, final chapter appear before she says a single sentence. The framing hardens. The hallway becomes metaphor. And metaphors spread faster than facts. Stop. Because here's what most people miss. At 9:17 a.m., she is still on that hallway floor, back against the wall, phone in hand, not moving. The explosion happens online. The crash happens in private. At 9:26 a.m., she finally types 4 sentences. Deletes 2. Leaves 1 line, "This is what coping looks like." She doesn't post it. The cursor blinks. And the world keeps talking without her. By 10:04 a.m., the wheelchair photo becomes her new identity online. But the real story isn't the chair. It's what happened at step 27 that morning, and she still hasn't said it out loud.